I transmigrated as the villain's daughter and immediately rewrote the plot. I became the daughter of a villain destined to be mere cannon fodder. At 1 year old, I intentionally fell seriously ill. My father had to put aside his villainous endeavors and participate in a fierce battle. At 3, I deliberately caused an accident, breaking a bone, determined to prevent my father from meeting the female lead. At 5, I exploited a pedophile, successfully stopping my father from collaborating with the main villain to harm Liam. Later, my father, the terrified cannon fodder, exclaimed, "Liam, you damn brat, take your hands off my son's face immediately." Let go. Can you imagine? A cold-blooded villain, daring to commit any evil deed, transformed overnight into a desperate, doting father. Calling my father a villain is perhaps too generous. I've never seen a villain who, upon appearing, was immediately blinded, had a broken leg, and was then thrown into the sea by the male lead to be eaten by sharks. After all, the true villain of this story is both beautiful and cruel, clashing with the male lead, vying for the female lead, capable of going mad at any moment, attacking everyone without reason, struggling until the very end before finally being defeated. This half-baked villain died when the plot had barely passed 10%. The remaining 90% was filled with heart-wrenching and torturous romance between the male and female leads, along with countless life-and-death battles with the real villain. So, calling my father a wicked cannon fodder is entirely accurate. Father, don't you think I'm right about your life in this world? My father held a cigarette, leaning against the window frame. The hazy smoke blurred his sharp eyes and handsome face, exuding a defiant arrogance. Clearly only 20 years old, yet the immaturity of youth seemed to have vanished, replaced by a coldness and cruelty forged in bloody battles. I taunted him, "Male lead face, cannon fodder fate." The system replied, "That's just how it is. If a supporting character likes the female lead, even if they're cannon fodder, their face is still the most important thing." At 1 year old, I was learning to walk. A child's bones are still very soft. The body is still getting used to balancing. A slight misstep in my left foot would trip my right, sending me sprawling immediately. My doting father anxiously wrapped all the sharp edges in the house with foam padding, just afraid I'd accidentally bump into something while learning to walk. You mean my father will join the villain's faction for battle in a few days, and a stray bullet will cause him to lose an eye, turning him into a one-eyed menace? I asked myself. The system replied seriously, "Exactly. That's a detail outside the main plot. When your father appears, he's already blind in one eye. This is the inciting factor that makes his personality distorted, cruel, and gloomy. Hey, host, normally the plot isn't allowed to be revealed. If you say it, you'll be punished by heaven." Just then my father saw me tottering towards him. He immediately cursed, stubbed out his cigarette in the trash, flung open the window, and waved his hand to clear the smoke from the air. I intentionally smoked alone in the room to relax, and you still have to follow me in? So clingy, huh? Go away, get out. Don't breathe in passive smoke. I suddenly remembered that I was still an infant. The smell of cigarette smoke filled the air, irritating my sense of smell. I immediately turned my head, covered my nose, and ran towards the door. Daddy, stinky. The poor young father, rejected by his daughter, had to change into another outfit and rinse his mouth 3 times before he could successfully pick me up. He warned me, "From now on, if you see Daddy smoking, don't come near me again, okay? Stay far away from me." I nodded, my small hand pressed against his handsome face, almost drooling. Fair enough, my doting father, though cold, cruel, and autocratic, no less than a villain, had a face that was truly too handsome. I signaled for him to play with me these past few days. A 1-year-old baby's language system is still developing. I couldn't form complete sentences, only babble individual words. My father held my waist, leaned back on the sofa, letting me touch his face, a gentle smile appearing in his eyes. "Okay, Daddy will play with his little darling these next few days." Just then his phone rang, he picked up. "Hello, Julian." The system exclaimed, "The villain is calling your father? Damn it. Is he inviting your father too?" I vaguely heard a deep, pleasant voice from the phone. "Ethan, day after tomorrow, the weapons deal. Come with me. If they dare to play tricks, we'll flatten their stronghold." I heard "work," and my father, who had been a little sluggish, suddenly became wide awake. Old Liu really can't sit still. You squeezed his price so high before, do you think he doesn't hold a grudge? It seems this lucrative deal will turn into a risky banquet. I gently patted my father's face. He took my hand and lightly pinched it. Be good, Daddy's talking about important matters. I glared at him. His so-called important matters were nothing less than murder, arson, wicked tricks, and betrayal. You'll lose an eye, Daddy, do you know that? My father clearly didn't hear my mumbled words. He adjusted his posture so I could lean more comfortably. The villain laughed, his voice lazy yet pleasant. Oh, the little piggy is there with you too. I fumed with anger. You're the pig, your whole family are pigs. Just because I ate a little too much when I was little and was a bit rounder, this hateful guy dared to call me a fat pig. I still remember the first time I met the villain. He was wearing a wine-red suit, his face mesmerizingly beautiful, truly a reincarnated demon. A gentle smile played on his lips, but his captivating fox-like eyes exuded a cold indifference. His beauty was different from my father's masculine, cold, and sharp handsomeness. The villain was like a poppy blooming in hell, blood-soaked and subtly stirring, both heartbreakingly beautiful and extremely dangerous. As a child who loved beauty, I was immediately captivated, forgetting everything around me, about to spread my arms to be picked up. Who knew this beautiful man would open his mouth and say, "Ethan, are you raising a pig? Isn't she so fat you're afraid she'll break the stroller?" My entire image shattered. As a girl, no one wants to be called fat. No matter how handsome my father was, it wasn't acceptable. So, when he leaned in close, bending down to examine me, my hands, which were ready to ask for a hug, turned into fists and punched him twice straight in the face. From then on, I had the distinguished nickname, Little Piggy. The villain teased, "Your daughter can talk now." My father rubbed my chin. "She just learned to talk a few days ago," he proudly showed off. "Do you know what her first words were? She said, 'Daddy, I love you.'" I was so touched I almost fainted. The villain taunted me, "Come on, call me uncle." I retorted, "Piggy, Daddy. I told you that pig holds grudges, why didn't you listen?" The villain pretended as if nothing had happened, deliberately changing the subject, preparing to recount brutal, bloody stories to my father, such as skinning someone, crushing someone's leg, or chopping off someone's fingers. My father, fearing I would hear, put me down, told me to go play elsewhere, and went to the balcony alone, enthusiastically discussing wicked plans with the villain. After they finished talking, my father picked me up with one hand, skillfully and pitifully preparing milk for me. "Good girl, I'm sorry, Daddy has to break his promise. Daddy has important business to attend to these next few days. You stay home and listen to Auntie Me, okay? Wait for Daddy to come back, all right? Tell Auntie Me whatever you want to eat." I hugged the milk bottle tightly, looking up with my small, aggrieved face. "Daddy, Daddy, don't go. Stay home and play with me." My father squatted down, stroking my hair. "No, darling, this is very important." I silently stared at my father. He stared back at me without blinking. I had used the trick of crying and throwing a tantrum countless times when I was tiny to stop him from doing business with that villain. When I was younger, crying could be called an instinctive reaction, but now that I was 1 year old, using that trick again wasn't just being spoiled. It was outright throwing a fit. I slowly said, "Yes." In my heart, I asked the system, "System, I remember your shop has an item that helps people get a high fever, right?" System, yes, host you want. I can't just stand by and watch my father get maimed. How long does this item of yours last? System, 1 day and absolutely no side effects. Me, that's enough. Just as my father finished getting ready, enthusiastically planning to follow the villain to double-cross and kill people, I received the pill from the system and swallowed it. A minute later, I sat dazed on the ground. 5 minutes later, my entire body was burning with a high fever. Auntie Me had just finished cooking a bowl of minced meat porridge for me. When she went to pick me up, her hand touched my skin and felt the searing heat. Auntie Me panicked, carried me to the hospital, and the driver sped through the streets. She took my temperature with an expression of disbelief. 40 deg C. My face was flushed, my whole body was uncomfortable, and I whimpered, calling for Daddy. Auntie Me frantically called my father. "Sir, little Snowy has a high fever." The other end of the line was very noisy. There seemed to be announcements coming from an airport. My father was stunned as if struck by lightning. "What did you just say?" "Snowy has a fever." Auntie Me quickly explained. "I just finished cooking minced meat porridge and was about to feed little Snowy when I noticed she was burning up. I took her temperature, and it was 40 degrees. We're currently on our way to the People's Hospital." My father exclaimed, "Oh my God." I squirmed uncomfortably, feeling both annoyed and aggrieved. "Daddy, it's hot. Wah, Daddy." He replied anxiously, "Daddy's coming home. Little Snowy, be good, don't cry, Daddy will be there right away." The man opposite him wondered, "Huh, you're leaving already, what about me?" My father replied coldly, "My daughter has a fever. I have to go home and take care of her. I'm not going anymore. You handle those matters yourself. With your capabilities, I believe you can do it." The other man was speechless. My existence was the result of a conspiracy targeting Julian, the villain. But ironically, the one who fell for the trap was Ethan, Julian's best friend. After one night with the woman who gave birth to me, my mother became pregnant unexpectedly. Throughout 10 months of pregnancy, that woman obtained Ethan's DNA sample. As soon as she gave birth to me, she abandoned me along with the test results at the doorstep of the Ethan family's house. In my feverish state, I vaguely dreamt. I dreamt of the moment I was placed in the role of the canon Fodder character's daughter. Before meeting me, my father had no problems that money couldn't solve. He quickly and carefully selected 3 nannies, paying a salary of $50,000 a month, intending to cast off the burden of me and continue his wild life with Julian. However, I cried continuously. I cried when I wet myself, I cried when I pooped. Even after being cleaned, I still cried nonstop. I cried when I was held, I cried when I wasn't held. I cried when hungry, and after eating my fill, I had the strength to cry again. I wailed miserably. The entire villa was filled with the sound of a baby crying. The only moment I stopped crying was when my father held a small rattle to tease me. The nannies, no matter how experienced, couldn't soothe me. Their pleading eyes turned towards the baby's biological father. My father, helpless, unable to watch me cry myself to exhaustion, stepped forward. Guided awkwardly by a nanny, he picked me up. It was miraculous. As soon as I was nestled in his arms, the little baby immediately fell silent and stopped crying. I even raised my tiny hands and smiled at my father. The nanny cooed, "Oh, little miss really loves her daddy." My father's face was cold as he stared intently at my tear-stained, snotty face. His expression clearly showed displeasure. "Don't smile. You're not pretty to begin with. Smiling makes it worse." I promptly produced another huge pile of poop. The foul odor slowly spread through the air, assailing the noses of those nearby. My father's face turned green, and the nanny's smile became strained. My father gritted his teeth, glared at me, and said, "You little brat, you're doing this on purpose, aren't you?" I looked at him innocently. I was so tiny, how could I control my bowel movements? My father's germophobia flared up again. He felt as though he too was covered in poop, his whole body itching as if with ants. Without thinking much, he intended to hand me back to the nanny and go change clothes. I reached out my small hand, grabbed his index finger, wiggled it back and forth, and babbled a few sounds. My father asked, "You mean you want Daddy to wash your bottom and change your diaper?" I blinked. He frowned. "Dream on, do you think you're my little emperor? I've hired professional nannies to take care of you. Don't push your luck." Moment later, my father, grimacing, awkwardly followed the nanny's instructions on how to handle a baby's bowel movements. He placed me on the changing mat, pulled off the dirty diaper with a look of disgust. His hands, which had once expertly assembled and disassembled all sorts of guns, were now using soft wipes soaked in warm water to clean my bottom, then rinsing it clean with more warm water. After drying my bottom and applying diaper cream, he fumbled as he put on a new diaper. My father stared at me with a sour expression for a long time, then said, "You really are Daddy's little ancestor." I hugged his finger and giggled. My father's cold heart seemed to be touched by something, suddenly softening. He poked my cheek, and each poke revealed a tiny dimple. He chuckled, "Little one, Ah, Daddy doesn't look so stupid after all, a little cute even." After that day, my father began a long, arduous, and often absurd journey of raising a child. Julian video called my father, utterly astonished. He stammered, "Ethan, why do you look so haggard lately?" My father's face was pale, devoid of his usual sharp wit, replaced by a look of deep resentment, like a person on the verge of death. Dark circles ringed his eyes, his hair was messy and unkempt, and his chin was covered in stubble. The clothes that once fit him perfectly now hung loosely. Even more pathetic was the sight of him trying to soothe me to sleep with a small drum while simultaneously dealing with a mountain of company documents. A notorious gang boss had transformed into a melancholic single father. In contrast, I sat in my crib, plump and adorable, with rosy, chubby cheeks looking very healthy. My father babbled things no one understood. Julian teased, "It seems you were severely injured and almost died last time, spending months in the hospital, and you weren't this worn out. Is raising a child that difficult?" My father irritably replied, "If I wasn't bearing this burden for you, I wouldn't be suffering like this." Julian clicked his tongue, not a hint of shame. He scanned me with cold eyes, both probing and disdainful, his tone indifferent. "If you really don't want to raise her, just hand her over to a childcare provider or find a good family to adopt her. She's just a child. Do you really need to personally take care of her?" People like them, who spent their lives in the underworld, killing like it was nothing, their hands stained with blood, were inherently ruthless. They didn't even care for themselves, let alone a troublesome baby. My father frowned, a little annoyed by Julian's attitude. He reached for a cigarette, then remembered I was nearby and awkwardly stopped. "Just a child? This is my daughter. What if I want to raise her?" Julian slowly said, "If you like it, just raise her. It's not like I'm suffering. This time I came to discuss our cooperation on the West City project." "Wah!" The baby, who had been silent until now, suddenly burst into loud cries. The wails echoed throughout the villa. My father panicked. "Oh my goodness, Daddy's little treasure." He hastily put down his documents, awkwardly picked me up, skillfully patted my back, and gently soothed me. "Is my darling hungry? Daddy's going to make you some milk right away." Julian was speechless. He looked at his trusted brother, usually cold and terrifying, capable of striking fear into anyone with a single word. Now he was clueless, with a clumsy expression, exuding the gentle glow of a doting father. "Julian, about the cooperation." My father irritably said, "Don't you hear my daughter crying? She's crying, I have to go make her milk. I've been taking care of her and working these past few months, I'm exhausted. Let's talk about the cooperation another time." He abruptly hung up the video call. Julian was left speechless. The next day, Julian personally came to the house. This time, his attitude was much milder. He bought 2 cartons of formula milk and many children's toys. Just as my father finished feeding me, he let go of their previous disagreement and began discussing cooperation. After everything was decided, Julian finally paid me some attention. He pinched my cheek. I responded with a sweet and warm innocent, chubby smile, my big round eyes sparkling, my red lips pursed. I babbled, asking to be held. The cold-blooded villain who killed without mercy must have never met a baby like me. He froze for a moment at my smile, then picked me up as I wished, thinking to himself, "Babies aren't entirely without good points, are they? So adorable." His heart softened a little. "Little one, immediately?" Julian stiffened. It seemed that some warm liquid was flowing out, wetting his hand and his suit. I tilted my head, feigning innocent ignorance. "Oh my God!" the villain shrieked in horror. His germophobia was even more severe than my father's. He rushed into the bathroom, taking a 2-hour shower. I smugly bubbled in my father's arms. "Serves you right, you wicked man, for instigating Daddy to abandon me." My father, though unable to hide the glee in his eyes, still pretended to scold me. "That's your uncle, don't be so rude." I babbled a few sounds. When the villain came downstairs, my father had already finished changing my diaper, fed me milk until I was full, and long since sung me to sleep. Julian glared at my sleeping face with annoyance and irritation. This little brat definitely did it on purpose. My father unhappily shot him a look. "Keep your voice down, don't wake her up. It took me forever to get her to sleep." Julian extended his hateful hand, intending to poke my face, clearly wanting to wake me up. "I like it." "You irritate me, and then you want a sleep?" My father said coldly. "If you want a screaming baby to make the whole villa noisy, just try it." Julian stared irritably at my sleeping face. After a long while, he finally managed to utter a comment. "She's pretty like you." He rarely showed concern when he asked, "What's her name?" My father remained silent. Julian curiously glanced at him. "You haven't named her yet." In fact, my father hadn't chosen a name for me yet, often calling me by names like little ancestor, little one, daughter, or darling. So the two burly men rummaged through dictionaries. My father was extremely picky. He didn't like this name, wasn't satisfied with that one. It seemed no name was worthy of me. Julian, not wanting to prolong the discussion with my father, immediately took a pen and wrote a single character on the paper. Zoo, snow. Zoo, snow, as in clear, pure, bright, without a speck of impurity. Is that okay? She won't have to follow in our footsteps, living her whole life in the sunlight. How is little Snowy? Sir, please don't worry. The doctor said it's just a mild cold. Children have weak immune systems. Has the baby's fever gone down yet? Ah, she just took fever medicine, and it's gone down a little. My daughter has a fever again. Didn't you say it was just a common cold? Parents, please stay calm. It's normal for a child's body temperature to fluctuate. I tried hard to open my heavy eyelids, seeing my father dozing off beside the bed. My father saw me wake up, carefully poured warm milk into the bottle, sealed the nipple tightly, and offered it to me. Little Snowy's awake, thirsty? Drink some water, darling. I sucked on the nipple, secretly looking at my father. His face was pale and haggard, his eyes deeply shadowed from lack of sleep, exuding an exhausted weariness, yet it didn't diminish his inherent handsomeness. I gazed at his face with fascination. My biological father, your face is truly one I could look at forever without getting tired. Ah, my father, now an experienced doting dad. Are you hungry? Shall daddy make you some baby food? Steamed eggs with minced shrimp and snow fungus pear soup. How does that sound? I hummed in agreement. 3 days passed in a blink. I saw my father watching over me every second. I thought to myself, the fierce battle of the villain's faction must have ended. I asked the system, has my father's danger passed this time? The system seemed to be collecting data, and a moment later, it replied, it has passed. The host's father has successfully avoided the danger of losing an eye this time. Great, my father didn't turn into Cyclops. As for the villain, remembering the man who was demonically beautiful but also not bad to me, I still worriedly asked the system. The system replied, host, don't worry. The villain has the main character's halo. The plot hasn't even begun yet. Nothing major will happen to him. That day, an uninvited guest entered the hospital room, a person with a bandaged left arm, a captivatingly beautiful face, but skin as white as porcelain, almost translucent, and a bit frail from illness, his lips also pale. He no longer had his usual defiant, powerful, crazy demeanor, which made him seem more fragile and even more bewitching. Julian, my big round eyes blinked, looking down at his arm. Didn't the system say the villain was fine? Why is he injured like this? The system was at a loss. Host, for a villain with the male lead's destiny, unless they die, there are usually no major problems. My father, who was making milk, frowned at his unsightly appearance. You're injured. Julian slumped onto the sofa in the private room, nonchalantly saying, just a slight bone fracture, a minor injury. My father asked, where are they? Julian replied, all wiped out. My father nodded. Ah, then it really is a minor injury. Then he continued to make my milk. Julian raised an eyebrow, propping his chin with his uninjured hand, his charming fox eyes looking at me. He began to tease the baby. I heard you can talk now. Come on, little Snowy, say uncle. Because he had a handsome face and was also a patient, I reluctantly opened my mouth. Uncle. Julian was like someone playing with a cat. So good. Uncle just bought a small island, warm climate, clear blue water, beautiful scenery. Say it again, and Uncle will give you that island. I, full of emotion, exclaimed, Uncle. This time I said it with extreme sincerity. Julian laughed loudly. Little Snowy is so smart. That island is for you. Tomorrow, have your father come to my place to handle the paperwork. I replied, Uncle likes Daddy. 2 years later, dawn cast gentle rays of light through the villa's windows. A luxurious Bentley slowly drove away, gliding along wide roads and stopping in front of a kindergarten gate. Inside the car, the man in a meticulously tailored shirt gently adjusted the crooked bow on my pink princess dress. My father's face hadn't changed from 2 years ago, but his demeanor had lost some of its coldness. 2 years ago, he was like a sharp, blood-soaked sword, exuding an aura of killing intent. Now, he could reluctantly be considered a sharp sword that had been wiped clean of some blood. At kindergarten, you must be very well behaved. Listen to your teacher, okay? If anyone makes you sad, tell Daddy and Daddy will punish the bully. The elegant man stroked my head, his voice warm and full of pampering. I obediently nodded. Yes, I understand. In reality, I didn't want to go to school because I had the soul of an adult. I had to face naive, innocent children and boring lessons like teachers teaching hand-washing, getting dressed, learning to read, and singing nursery rhymes. My face was a little pale. The system suddenly spoke. Host, the second major crisis in your father's life will appear in half a month. When your father goes to High Than to participate in a bidding war, he will be framed by his opponent. The female lead will come to his aid, and your father will fall in love with her at first sight. The influence of this plot point is extremely strong. The host must come up with a comprehensive plan to firmly prevent your father from going to High Than. Just by missing this encounter, the plot will no longer have an opportunity to affect your father. The system paused for a moment, then added about the original plot. Before that, the villain had also found the girl who saved him when he was young, who is also the female lead. After your father falls in love with the female lead, conflicts will arise with the villain, turning them into enemies. Furthermore, with the actual male lead of the female lead, it will later directly turn into a fierce battlefield. Your father, who is supposed to lose an eye according to the original storyline, would be the first to be eliminated. Please, host, be prepared to change the tragic fate of your father, the canon Fodder character. I understand. My father carried my backpack, took my hand, and we got out of the car. Today was the first day of school, and many parents brought their children. Some kids cheerfully walked in, small backpacks on their shoulders, full of vitality. In contrast, some children clung tightly to their parents like koalas, sobbing and wailing, "I don't want to go to school. I want to stay with Mommy and Daddy." Even though parents and teachers tried their best to comfort them, the children cried even louder. The crying spread, and other children were also affected, clinging to their parents' clothes and refusing to let go. The kindergarten gate became as noisy and bustling as a market. Everyone's joy and sorrow were truly different. Whether they were curious, chattering children, or tragically crying children, I wasn't interested. I just found it excessively noisy. I naturally preferred quiet. Frowning, I looked around. Few children were sitting still. Thinking about the coming days of sharing a room with these active kids, I felt like the end of the world was nigh. I'd rather stay at my father's company as a mascot, letting the aunts and uncles pinch my cheeks and braid my hair. Why did I have to go to kindergarten? I completely forgot how much trouble I had put my father through over the years. Midst the crowd of parents, my father's figure stood out like a crane among chickens. Both teachers and parents looked at him with surprised and admiring eyes. My father didn't glance left or right, holding my hand as we entered the school and handed me over to the homeroom teacher. Before leaving, he squatted down, stroked my head, and said, "Chloe, eat well, study hard. If anyone bullies you, fight back. If you can't win, tell Daddy and Daddy will take care of it." The teacher's smile became stiff. She really wanted to talk about friendly relations between children, but understanding the identity of the man in front of her, she remained silent. I waved goodbye to my father. "Daddy, remember to pick me up this afternoon." My father smiled. "Okay." I sat in the spot the teacher assigned. In class, the teacher led the children in singing folk songs, doing crafts, and learning to count. During break time, the children rushed out to the small playground to play on slides, seesaws, and climbing frames. As for me, I leisurely stayed in the classroom, pondering an English business magazine, an item I had stolen from my father's office. A little girl, about 3 or 4 years old with 2 pretty pigtails, hugged a small teddy bear and timidly approached me. "Hello, my name is Lily. Will you be my friend? I'll give you this teddy bear. Shall we play together?" I just smiled faintly. "Hello, I'm Chloe." As I spoke, I took out some candies from my desk drawer, intending to give them to the little girl, when suddenly a chubby boy appeared from nowhere, large in size, snatched the candies from my hand, mumbling, "Mine, mine." My face instantly darkened. I stared at the boy. He flinched but quickly regained his mischievous look, sticking out his tongue at us, brazenly unwrapping a candy and popping it into his mouth. "Can't do anything to me, can't do anything to me." Then he ran off, disappearing. The teacher, who was keeping an eye on the children outside, completely missed the scene that had just unfolded. Little Lily looked bewildered, her big round eyes glistening. I took another handful of candies from my pocket and said, "Don't cry, I still have some." The little girl said, "He." I smiled, not wanting to fuss over this naughty boy. "It's okay, it's just a few candies." When I went outside to sunbathe, I saw the chubby boy snatching something from another child, his face full of smugness. The teacher was comforting the crying child, her eyes on the chubby boy showing clear displeasure and a hint of apprehension. "Max, you shouldn't bully your friends like that," the chubby boy replied. "Nah, nah, 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 nah." In my head, I began to calculate. This chubby boy, just by looking at him, you could tell he was overly pampered, always wanting whatever toy he liked. He was also arrogant and conceited. His clothes were designer children's wear, and even the teacher didn't dare offend him, so his family background must be very good. I thought indifferently, no matter how good his family background is, can it be better than mine? The thorn in my side had been found. 4:30 p.m., kindergarten dismissal. My father came to pick me up. He helped me carry my bag, carefully buckled my seatbelt, and then affectionately asked, "How was your first day of school? Did anyone bully you?" I pondered for a moment, then replied, "I made a friend. Her name is Lily, she's very pretty. The school food was good too. No one made me sad." "That's great then." Just then, Julian called. My father reached for his phone and answered, "Hello, Ethan." Julian's voice seemed flustered. My father said, "If you have something to say it quickly." Julian stammered, It seems I found her." Hearing this news, I immediately perked up my ears to listen. Red light, my father stopped the car. "Found who?" Julian replied, "The girl who saved me last time." My father asked, "Do you have feelings for her?" Julian was silent for a long time. "Yeah." My father sounded surprised. "Really? I thought you were just going to give her some money and resources to repay her. A person like you, who values self-interest above all else, also knows how to like someone." Julian replied, "And I don't." "Daddy, you're too blunt." I heard the sound of a lighter on the other end of the line. It seemed Julian was lighting a cigarette, his voice a little hoarse and low. "If I like her, I like her. Give me some advice." My father didn't understand. "If you like her, just pursue her. What advice can I give? With a face like yours, you already have a huge advantage." Julian irritably said, "But she already has someone in her heart. She won't even look at me." My father said, "Then go steal her. Nothing is impossible to steal. If you steal her, she's yours." A cold smile appeared on my father's exquisitely handsome face. "As for the person she likes, just deal with him. Then grasp her weakness, making her only able to rely on you. Won't she belong to you then?" My eyes widened and my mouth dropped open in shock. I thought my father, after raising me for 3 years, had become gentle and kind, beginning to cultivate himself. Who knew this person was even more villainous than the actual villain? Julian's face lit up with joy. "That's exactly what I wanted." I tried to persuade him. "Uncle, if a melon is still green, how can it be sweet?" Julian replied, "Oh dear, little Snowy is there. Uncle says, whether a melon is sweet or not, you have to pick it to know. Uncle tells you, if you set your sights on something, you have to fight for it, you have to snatch it. Otherwise, it will just fall into someone else's hands." I remained silent. I swallowed hard, thinking, should I suggest they follow the law a little? And what exactly were those words Julian just said? My father turned to look at me, the disdain on his face immediately vanishing, replaced by the gentle expression of a father. Talk about extreme double standards. "You're wrong, little Snowy. If little Snowy likes something, there's no need to steal it." I looked bewildered. My father continued, "Little Snowy just needs to tell Daddy, and Daddy will help you steal it back. You don't need to lift a finger." I was speechless. So was Julian. I wondered, are my father and these people always like this? The system replied, "They are all illegitimate children abandoned by major families. From a young age, they endured all sorts of humiliation, and their path was full of thorns. The consequence of not fighting and being weak was death. Selfishness, ruthlessness, and duoc have become their instincts. They cannot be entirely blamed for having such views, but people living in darkness often yearn for light. The female lead's later appearance is like a ray of light in their lives, making them rush into it like moths to a flame, deluding themselves that they can embrace the moonlight. But clearly, the female lead only loves the male lead. Their longing is in vain. Seeing the day my father was to go to High Than for bidding approaching, I still went to kindergarten carelessly. The system couldn't help but worry. "Host, have you thought of a way to stop your father from going to High Than?" I replied, "Patience." That day, I brought a beautiful music box that could light up and sing. I intentionally walked past the chubby boy. The exquisite music box immediately caught his attention. His large, bean-like eyes lit up. Saliva almost started to drip. He yelled, "Chloe, give me your music box." I immediately hid it behind my back and pouted, "I won't give it to you. Daddy just bought it for me. I haven't even played with it for long." The chubby boy's face instantly turned bright red. Blue veins appeared on his forehead, showing his anger through a loud shout, "Give it to me, I want that music box." As he spoke, he reached out his plump hand, grabbed the edge of the music box, and tried to snatch it. I hugged the toy tightly, my small face flushed. Neither of us would yield, causing the music box to shake violently. Suddenly, the chubby boy put all his strength into a hard pull. He lunged forward and used all his force to push me backward. I lost my balance, falling backward like a kite with a broken string. My shin hit a raised floor tile hard. Ah! The system was astonished. "Host, wait you." A tearing, agonizing pain shot through my shin. Although my heart was cold and calm, my face immediately turned pale, and I burst into sobs. The chubby boy showed no remorse. Instead, he held up the music box and shook it at me. "Serves you right for not giving it to me." Teacher Chen heard the crying and rushed over. Seeing my shin swollen, she gasped in alarm. "Little Snowy, what happened to you? Your leg?" Tears streamed down my face nonstop. I pointed at the smug chubby boy. "Wah, he snatched my music box and pushed me." Other teachers also ran over when they heard the commotion. A sense of despair enveloped me. "Oh no." Teacher Chen immediately called for an ambulance and notified both families. The system frantically said, "Host, are you okay?" I looked down at my shin and replied, "It's fine, just a small fracture, a minor injury." "System, you call that a minor injury?" I changed the subject. "Daddy probably won't go to High Than anymore." The system didn't know what his father said on the other end, but he must have been furious because the teacher looked like she was about to cry. The ambulance arrived very quickly. The paramedics carefully secured me on a stretcher, put me in the ambulance, and took me to the hospital. When my father rushed in, he saw me lying on the hospital bed, tears still on my face, my complexion pale and weak, my eyes swollen like walnuts, and my right leg in a white cast. When I saw my father's silhouette, I wished I could fall into his warm embrace as always to ease the pain. But my lower body was immobile, so I could only softly sob, "Daddy, I hurt so much." My father seemed to have just left an important meeting, still in his suit but somewhat disheveled. His face was contorted, revealing a terrifying gloom, and his killing intent was almost palpable, making the surrounding medical staff tremble with fear. He came closer, gently hugged me, and spoke in an uncharacteristically tender and comforting voice. "Little Snowy, don't be afraid. It won't hurt. Daddy will definitely get justice for you." The system hesitated. "Next, will the weather turn cold and the Wang Corporation go bankrupt?" "I guess so." I snuggled into my father's arms, clutching his clothes, hiding the deep calculations in my eyes. "Daddy, can you stay with me? I hurt so much. Forget all about the bidding, the business trip." My father showed extreme remorse. "It's Daddy's fault for not being careful. Daddy will always be with you until you are fully recovered." System, truly brilliant. Just then, Auntie Me also arrived. Seeing my pale and weak appearance, she immediately shed tears of heartache. "Oh, my precious darling, that damn brat caused our little Snowy to suffer like this." My father calmly said, "Auntie Me, please help me take care of little Snowy. I have to go out and resolve this matter now." Auntie Me quickly nodded in agreement. My father walked out of the hospital room and closed the door. I didn't care what happened to that chubby boy. As long as my father stayed in the capital, didn't go to High Than, and didn't miss the encounter with the female lead, that was enough. During my recovery, my father stayed by my side constantly, not leaving for a moment. He abandoned the bidding competition just like that, even bringing company work to the hospital room to handle, taking care of me, cooking delicious meals for me, telling me stories to put me to sleep, and doing rehabilitation exercises with me. Not even a shadow of the female lead was seen. Lily came to visit me and said that after the incident with the chubby boy, she hadn't seen him at kindergarten anymore. Tusk, Daddy's efficiency is truly unparalleled. After being discharged from the hospital, thanks to being meticulously cared for like a patient, I looked healthy and rosy, even a bit plumper than before. As for my father, I was slightly startled, glancing at him. He was emaciated to the point where it was easily noticeable. If not for makeup, walking on the streets, he would truly resemble a living corpse. That time, Julian visited me once. Before he could even ask about my condition, he was severely startled by my father's tired and pale appearance. Julian mumbled, "In the future, if I marry Serafina, I will absolutely not have children." Serafina is the female lead. Her real name is Serafina Shen. Me, nothing is clear yet. You're thinking too far ahead. My father didn't hesitate to scoff. What are you laughing at? Has Serafina Shen agreed to marry you? Julian's fragile heart felt as if it had been pierced by an arrow. His defenses crumbled. He gloomily said, "She should be sensible, don't force me." My face stiffened. I had also tried to persuade the villain to let go of the female lead. The world is so vast, with so many beautiful flowers, why obsess over one? I wanted to pull him out of the story, but unfortunately, the female lead's charm was too strong for him. No matter how much I pulled, it didn't work, and I even got scolded. "I'm too tired, let go of the idea of helping and just respect their fate. First, protect my father's life." The current story had reached the stage where the villain was passionately pursuing and bothering the female lead, who, failing to refuse, desperately tried to escape. The male lead intervened, and the relationship between the three was a tangled mess. My father, however, had successfully escaped this game. He didn't have to endure the pain of love and injury. He only had to endure the hardship of raising a child. From this lesson, my father immediately enrolled me in a high-end kindergarten. The children there were mostly offspring of wealthy families, polite and emotionally intelligent. Moreover, they all knew each other's status. No matter how mischievous a child was, their parents constantly reminded them not to bully friends. I lived there very comfortably. 2 more years passed, still repeating the main tune, the villain fighting in the criminal underworld. My father still busy working to raise me. The villain imprisoned the female lead. My father still working to raise me. The female lead escaped. The villain pursued her. She ran, he chased. Even with wings, it was hard to escape. My father still continued to work to raise me. The arrogant villain confronted the male lead. Meanwhile, my father still worked tirelessly to raise me. Just as he received a notification from the villain's henchmen that the female lead had escaped again, my father was telling me a bedtime story. The princess imprisoned the prince, then picked up an AK-47 and shot the useless king, crowned herself, and raised a bunch of handsome and charming men, living happily ever after. Now, go to sleep, darling. In Julian's eyes, Liam, the male lead, was like someone sent by heaven to curb him, incredibly powerful and overwhelming. No matter how hard Julian tried, he couldn't defeat him. Initially, he thought this was his own business and didn't want to drag my father into it. But after the female lead escaped again with the help of the male lead, and the male lead cornered him in the business world, Julian completely lost control. He sought out my father and stated bluntly, "Ethan, lend me a hand. Let's work together to eliminate that scoundrel Liam." My father immediately agreed, but then dropped a bomb on him. Because recently, I was being followed by a pervert, and my father found out and almost went crazy. My father immediately took people and brought the pervert to an abandoned factory, castrating him and beating him half to death. These past few days, my father has been collecting enough evidence to send the pervert to prison, and even instructed the prison to take good care of him. After that, my father felt like he had forgotten something, but he thought what he forgot surely wasn't important, so he didn't bother. So it wasn't until much later, when Julian was once again infuriated by Liam, that my father suddenly remembered, came to his house, and asked, "Do you still need my help?" Julian hugged his necklace, sadly sighing, "No need anymore. Serafina Shen is pregnant with that scoundrel Liam's child. I'm completely hopeless." My father replied, "Sounds like you had hope before." The system seemed to feel a bit sorry. Poor villain, no matter how hard he tries, he can't win. Your father's two major crises before have passed. This time, there's no danger at all. Do you want your father to help the villain? I bit into an apple, remaining silent. The male lead is heaven's favorite. He can't be defeated. My father has no personal grudges with that guy. Better to let my father deal with that disgusting pervert than to let him embark on a path with the villain, fail, and then have to clean up the mess. I rubbed my hands. Damn it, that pervert who followed me for 2 days gave me goosebumps. Fortunately, some good still came out of it. The male lead and female lead were about to get married. Julian came to my house to drink away his sorrows with my father, mourning his broken love. My father, who had only ever known how to raise a child and had never been in love, completely failed to understand. In my previous life, I was single until death and couldn't comprehend it either. For my father and me in the past, raising me and changing his fate had exhausted all our strength. For my father and me now, love pales in comparison to living well in the present, but we still silently respected it. My father drank with Julian, while I sat beside them, drinking fruit juice. Julian was thoroughly drunk, his handsome, radiant face flushed red. Then, tears streamed down, making him seem as vulnerable as a child. He clutched my father's clothes, choking out, "Ethan, I've really lost all hope, haven't I?" My father stroked his sweaty forehead, letting him lean into his arms like two wounded wolf cubs, wary of each other yet embracing for warmth. They were brothers, comrades, and also rivals, formidable opponents. They were ruthless and calculating towards each other without mercy, but when the other was in trouble, they didn't hesitate to help. A wicked cannon fodder, a cruel villain. They were indeed ambitious and selfish individuals who wouldn't dare say the other was the most important person in their life, but they certainly couldn't be without each other. The usual coldness on my father's face briefly revealed a rare tenderness. My father said, "Julian, you still have me and little Snowy. You will never be alone." Time flew by. After continuous influence from my father and me, Julian finally let go of the female lead and also let go of himself. The male lead and female lead held a grand wedding. The female lead, after 10 months of pregnancy, gave birth to a son named Landon Zai. But none of that had anything to do with me, until my father and I attended Landon's 1-month celebration party. Julian was currently in Hanoi to negotiate business. He only sent gifts and did not attend the party in person. At the party, the male lead, Liam, wore a white suit, his figure tall and straight like bamboo, his appearance gentle and elegant. His sophistication was hidden beneath an approachable exterior, like a refined yet enduring ink wash painting. His peach blossom eyes sparkled with a smile, exuding an irresistible charm between light and shadow. He was completely different from the villain and my father. One was gentle as jade, one passionate as fire, one cold as a blade. But all three shared a deep, unfathomable nature. And the female lead? She certainly lived up to her reputation as the strong woman pursued by 3 men in the original plot. She was also very capable, repeatedly escaping the villain's traps on her own. She didn't have the weak, innocent appearance of the typical White Lotus characters often seen in dramatic romance stories. On the contrary, she possessed a bold and radiant aura like the dazzling sun, a smile blooming on her red lips, her eyes sparkling like water, seemingly capable of dispelling all gloom. I still remember how she saved the villain in the script and made him restless for years. That night, the pretty little girl pulled the struggling little villain, who was trying to escape. After a quick evasion, she nimbly climbed a tree. "Give me your hand, hurry." The little villain held out his hand, and the girl, without hesitation, pulled him up. She smiled brightly. "Little brother, let me get revenge for you." The little villain looked up, his face covered in dirt, his deep eyes like a still lake, dark and lonely, like a lost ghost. But the girl wasn't afraid. She took out a slingshot from her pocket, along with pebbles she had picked up from the road. Immediately, chaotic footsteps echoed in the alley. Where did that brat run off to? Flashlight beams from their hands danced wildly, and mumbled curses rang out piercingly in the quiet night. "Keep looking, that troublemaker surely hasn't run far." The girl aimed her slingshot directly at the crotch of the big man leading the group and released. "Ah, ah, ah," a pained scream echoed. "My privates are gone, damn it, my head." Others, fearing the same fate, quickly clutched their lower regions, but stumbled on the uneven ground, falling into those around them, creating a chaotic pile. The girl laughed gleefully. "Ha ha, serves you right, you little hussy, what are you?" A slap rang out. "Ah, ah, my tooth is broken." The girl's voice was still defiant without remorse. Your mouth stinks, brush your teeth. The little villain looked up at the girl's defiant eyes. His gloomy eyes seemed to brighten under the moonlight. Let's go, we'll hide quickly. The girl nimbly climbed the wall, disappearing to the other side in a flash, then returned with a rope to help the little villain climb down. The girl taught the little villain, from now on, if you encounter similar situations, don't be afraid, don't be discouraged. Just punch them, beat them until they're crippled. Only then will those dirty mongrels not dare to come near. If you can't win, temporarily avoid them, gather your strength, and then strike back unexpectedly to teach them a lesson. The little villain silently nodded, pondering. It's late, I'll take you home. Standing in front of his house, the girl smiled gently, her eyes bright, warm, and forgiving. Even though the night was pitch black, the girl shone brightly like a flame, dispelling the biting cold. Well, little brother, good night. But life is inherently unpredictable, and love is often bittersweet. In the end, only the phrase, meant to be, but not fated to be together, remained. My father looked at Landon, lost in thought, then pinched my cheek. Little Snowy, I think I never held a first birthday party for you back then, did I? I hesitated. Oh, it's okay if you didn't, Daddy. It's not important, is it? My father's voice was filled with remorse. Others had one, but you didn't. Daddy, I give up. Daddy, you forgot how busy you were back then, right? Ah, you think balancing the underworld and the political world is easy. Everyone around excitedly discussed what Landon would pick. I wonder what the young master will pick. If he picks a stethoscope, will he become a doctor later? HMPH, it's just a formality. This is the eldest son of the Zai family. He'll definitely inherit the family business in the future. Do you really believe that? I politely greeted the main characters. Hello, Uncle Liam. Hello, Auntie Serafina. Liam gently stroked my head, smiling gracefully. Ah, little Snowy is here to play. I didn't hold back. Yes, I came to freeload on food and drinks. Serafina sat down to my eye level. She affectionately stroked my cheek and said in a gentle voice, Long time no see, little Snowy. You've grown so much, even prettier than before. I grinned and replied, Yes, I think so too. After greeting them, I approached, my curious eyes fixed on the 1-year-old boy on the banquet table. His face was chubby and cute, his skin fair and smooth. One could imagine how handsome he would become when he grew up. Truly the son of the main couple. Besides the baby, the table was laden with various items for the first birthday ceremony: fountain pens, books, an abacus, golf clubs, a stethoscope, model cars. But the little boy didn't care about any of them. His peach blossom eyes, inherited from the male lead, stared intently at me. He babbled a few sounds, then crawled towards me. On his way, he seemed displeased, pushing aside all the toys because they were in his way. I calmly stood there, wanting to see what the boy intended to do. A small, slightly cold hand reached up and lightly touched my face. I froze for a moment. Just then, my father's horrified shout rang in my ears. Liam, you damn brat of a nephew, quickly grab your son's hand. Don't let him touch my daughter's face. Let go immediately. My father usually didn't speak up, but when he did, immediately all the guests' eyes turned to us. That loud shout startled the baby. He clung tightly to my neck, his whole body sticking to me, not letting go. I had to hug the child. Should I pull him off and throw him away? His peach blossom eyes welled up with tears. The boy slowly uttered a few words, his voice full of grievance. Pretty, sister, I'm scared. My heart almost melted because the boy was too adorable. Liam, Serafina Shen. My father couldn't restrain himself. He immediately pulled Landon from me, his face cold as he looked at this green tea brat. His father tries to steal his friend's wife, and he, a tiny child at his first birthday party, doesn't pick anything but my daughter? Stop it right now. Landon looked bewildered, waving his arms and legs, returning to his biological father's embrace. My father smiled mirthlessly. Mr. Zai, please keep a closer eye on your son. My daughter is not just anyone's match. Liam, while comforting his aggrieved young son, smiled gently and said, They're just playing, Mr. Ethan, don't get so angry. My father showed clear disdain for this sly fox. He coldly snorted, I wish it were so. The system hesitated. Host I, system stammered. I see a thin red thread suddenly appearing between you and Landon. I was startled. I just hugged him once. How is there a red thread already? The system also panicked. Did you forget today is his first birthday party? The first thing he picked was you. I was still going to poke fun at this destined match. I glanced at the fair-skinned, chubby boy. Could this be the unbelievably melodramatic plot point only found in romance novels? System, did you forget you're in a story? Of course, it has to be as melodramatic as possible. System, but that red thread isn't certain. The final outcome still depends on you, because you changed your father's fate, causing him to escape the plot. Moreover, host, you are also an outsider to the plot. Heaven cannot arrange your destiny. The two of you have a destined connection, but if you truly don't want it, you might only have a destined connection, but no actual fate together. I smiled. Even if there's a destined connection, it's not now. I'm only 7 years old, he just turned 1. Our paths to adulthood are different. By the time he starts elementary school, I'll be in university. We fundamentally can't play together. While my father was skillfully interacting with everyone, not paying attention to me, I walked over to Landon again. Landon obediently sat still on the table, his round eyes looking at me. Sister, you look adorable enough to melt me. Truly adorable. I must have been this adorable when I was little, I thought narcissistically. I took out the longevity bracelet I had prepared and gently put it around his neck. It was the best wish for a child: health, peace, happiness, and a carefree life. The rest, let time decide. On the way home, I lay stretched out on my father's back, kicking my legs. Daddy, when is Uncle Julian coming back? I miss him so much. My father supported my bottom, afraid I would slip. 2 more days, he said. When you're off school, Daddy will take you to visit him, okay? A moment later, Daddy, the teacher said I got perfect scores in both literature and math. Then what do you want to eat? Daddy will cook for you tonight. I excitedly rattled off a list of dishes: Coca-Cola glazed fried chicken, clay pot fish, bell pepper shrimp balls. My father looked at me fondly. Okay. Daddy, Daddy, I love you. My father suddenly smiled. Little Snowy, Daddy loves you too.